Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's Thursday, April 4th, 2024. Let's go ahead and jump into our pre-market and our review for yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and quickly upload our news report to the chat room. Alright, there we go. So we're getting a pretty good follow through here to the upside. And remember, that has been kind of the perennial situation here for multiple weeks and multiple months, is we get these pretty good sizable pullbacks. Let's pull up the high time frames here. Pretty decent pullback right off of our roadmap level, expected resistance level back when we were way down here before we ever pushed up here, right to it. Got this really nice healthy pullback, and now here we are coming all the way back to the all-time highs. And we just have seen it happen here again for months now. Big healthy pullback, bulls jump in, push it to new highs. Well, look where we pulled back to, guys. This is the main area of resistance in the chart, right here, this pocket, right? We highlighted 54 to 59 or whatever it was right in here, coming off this last major swing. But for all intents and purposes, the market corrected down, tested right into these last two previous major swings, recovered, and now here we are coming back to the all-time highs again, right? So yesterday when we came in, we said that there were clues for a continuation to the downside, but because historically here, it seems like the bulls just keep jumping in on every pullback, it's very possible that at some point we're going to see the bulls try and recover, right? And what happened out of the open yesterday is we just held, and we saw in the pre-market, the bears could not pull back below our scaffolding level. I mean, how discreet of a level is that at 47, and we just literally held it and held it and held it. Then we got one little duck below just before the market opened yesterday, and then they came right back to start pushing, right? So it was pretty clear out of the open, and I warned you guys that on short time frames, we could see an attempt by the bulls to try and recover and push to 50% the previous day and 50% of the previous week. And then in that case, you would have some good bullish opportunities as price tries to trek back to the all-time highs, or at least attempt to. So the market opened, again, we were holding right around our first expected support, which would have been a great trade through the overnight session. And then again, we got this little peek through right before the market opened, and then the rally started. So if you didn't understand that price was now holding above Hopal. In fact, right out of the open there, we pop, come right back to Hopal. There's another, I mean, we could probably count 3-4 days a week where the market pulls back right to Hopal and doesn't break it by more than 2 points, and you get a rotation, right? And again, I don't know the actual number on that, but it is damn often. So we had this beautiful rally. If you bought the back end of the top end of the Hopal there, it was also the morning swing right out of the open there, you would have been in a really good situation for the rest of the day, right? So if you would have bought the first roadmap level, if you would have bought actually the scaffolding, the Hopal, the VWAP, and the 200 here, I mean, each of these you could have been adding into your position and caught this whole rally all the way up to the high, right? So let's look at what else happened here. Obviously, there was some trouble right around this roadmap level at 55, but when they pulled back, held right off the 200 moving average. In fact, there were two tests of the 200 with maybe, this was zero risk, this was a tick or two, and you had another great opportunity right off of 50% of the previous day. So again, it was quite literally just a stair step up all our roadmap levels, right? We held the first scaffolding, we held the Hopal, we held the pullback to the 200, we got all the way back up through 50% of the previous day. We held that with one of those beautiful textbook double bottoms off of a roadmap level with a divergence, right? So another great opportunity to try along, especially now that you see that price is holding above VWAP. We're getting back through 50% of the previous day. It's starting to break out above there. You know, if you're not thinking like a bull at that point, it's okay. We could always have a peek through and it fails and we come all the way back down. But all the clues in the market where we've had our moving averages crossing over, orienting with a upward slope, and everything was just lining up to be long. So if you missed out on scaffolding, Hopel, 250% of the previous day. I don't know what to tell you. You just had a lot of good opportunities there. And even if you missed out, there were some great opportunities off the back end of, or the top end of that fast moving average as price was starting to push higher, right? So you might have had to take a couple ticks of heat on this little shallow pullback, and then it went ahead and continued to rip. And then we came up into 52.82. Now this is a level that I believe I added to the chart. I don't know if we had it on the news report yesterday or if I added it last night, to be honest with you. But really good expected resistance there, and I'll show you what that 52.82 is from a higher time frame perspective. So let's take a look. When the market was rallying higher yesterday, here's the big breakout. This was the next major swing that the price was coming up into, right? This is a naked swing that was never tested. We have, and let me just move the line there. We had a very obvious attempt there by the bulls to rip out, and then it failed. We broke through and never came back until yesterday, where again, the high of the day yesterday was quite literally about a point or two in front of it, right? And then in the overnight session here, as we come into this morning, look at how many times the market came right to that swing, to the tick, 52.82, and got rejected here in this overnight session. Let's zoom it in. It peaked through by a couple ticks, then it held in the overnight session, and then it held, and then finally when it broke out, they pulled back and for all intents and purposes, held it to the upside for the current push, right? So that was a very relevant level. I did add it to the chart this morning, or last night, because we hadn't quite gotten to it. So that's what I did. Last night, after the market closed and it looked like this, I went ahead and threw 52.82 quarter on there, added it to our news report for this morning. But then what happened? We broke out as we were getting closer to the open this morning. We broke out from 82. I removed it from our chart, or from our report, and now here we are breaking out. But I thought it was interesting to note that once again, one of our major naked swings became an extremely relevant level all through the overnight session, and basically was the high of yesterday, okay? Again, I don't remember if I marked this on yesterday's news report. I do remember marking it yesterday. So that is, if we come back over here, that is that level that I had on there, 52.82, right? 82 quarter. So we nearly came all the way up to that next major swing low on the chart, on the higher time frame there. And then that was it. The market pulled back. And if you missed out on all these opportunities to buy the market as we were breaking out back up, you also got quite beautiful textbook pullback with bullish divergence right off of the VWAP, which also was once again a test of 50% of the previous day. So in my opinion, yesterday you had a lot of great opportunities, once again with barely any freaking risk. You could have jumped in, you could have taken a couple stop outs for a point or two, and then grab one of these and grab the nice 10, 15, maybe even 20 point push, right? It depends on where you got in on the market. But then at the end of the day, as you can see, and this is kind of another thing I do talk about pretty often, when we make a major high in the market and then the bulls fail to be able to get back up through it there and kind of fail right in front of it, well, what happened? We failed right in front of it, and then once again, failed a couple ticks in front of that secondary high, and then that was it, right? So once you should have noticed kind of this failure. We held VWAP, but then bam, bulls couldn't even come back and test that high, and then you could have oriented yourself for a bearish setup as we were failing back through VWAP. The unfortunate thing is it was in a very, very aggressive sell-off, so aggressive that price never could even get to the fast moving average to test on the major failure point here. Now before, yeah, you had that first kiss to the 200 after the crossover, right? So we have the crossover of our moving averages, first kiss to the 200 right there would have been a great short opportunity. We just hadn't gotten through the VWAP just yet. So ideally we want to see a crossover, we want to see price get below VWAP and then jump in on one of these setups. But this is another very obvious setup here, 50% retrace of the leg from the high VWAP, or I'm sorry, 200 moving average, and even all this support that was in the market here just a couple of minutes earlier, holding, 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 getting down below, and then bam, there's that kiss, and then this nice rally lower. So on the way back down at the end of the day, and I'm spending a little too much time here on our review, but at the end of the day, as you can see, price came right back to hopeful. In this case, not a beautiful, sexy hold of a tick or two. It did break through by 2.5 points, maybe a little more than 2.5 points there. Oh no, just under 3 points. And then from there, the bulls tried to rally it back up, right? And this, at the end of the day, maybe not the most sexy setups outside of the hold right off the previous daily close right at the end of the day, and then parry right off the VWAP, right? So that concludes our review from yesterday. And as you can see, here we are. The bulls are just rallying it right back up. So just like, let's go back to the higher time frames, just like we've seen for multiple months on end now. Let's zoom it back a little bit and maybe even go to like a daily. We've just seen shallow pullback bounce. Bearish signal, shallow pullback bounce. And it's just been Groundhog's kind of day every single day in the market for multiple weeks, months now, right? And now here we are, here's our shallow pullback. And then we made that low, like I said, right around the major resistance from the past, came right into it, peaked in, and now here we are coming right back to the all-time high again. So it's been kind of the same story nearly every day for quite a while, right? So here we are breaking out to the upside this morning. And what do you know? They're holding above VWAP and they're riding up aggressively up off of the FMA here to break out into the 5304 area right now. So again, beautiful opportunities right here around VWAP with very limited risk to buy in at the beginning of Globex session, and you'd be up over 25 points right now, 30 points. If we bring this back here, you even had an opportunity when the Hopal printed this morning, you had an opportunity to buy at Hopal and buy off of the previous daily high. Again, kind of continuing on with this stair step up the roadmap levels. There's the Hopal, there's the previous daily high, and now here we are breaking out to the upside. So let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and we'll see what the charts have to say for this morning.